I studied for 10 years longevity very specifically and cell regeneration, that the strongest part of cellular regeneration is really the connection to your soul and to your light. And the more you have that, the faster your cells will regenerate. And that's the most important thing that you can do, and really feel that intuition to your body, really feel that you're beautiful, be kind to yourself, be in alignment with yourself. It's all connected, and every aging symptom is actually just an expression of a misalignment, because that's not even supposed to happen. And the more you're connecting to your soul and to your avatar, because we're creating everything in our world, the more you regenerate that. And we can live way longer as humans than we think we can. And that's one of the problems. When you think you're just going to reach a certain age, when you think you're going to be sick, get sick at a certain age, that's also part of the programming. If you really want to expand in the most efficient way, this is the most efficient.
Thank you for joining me today. Today we are talking to Dr. Lara Wegener. She is a longevity specialist. She has started the company Forest in a Bottle and co-founded the company My Longevity Life. And as a doctor, a medical doctor, she studied for the last 13 years in Germany and then did PhD research and her postdoc in Oxford and Stanford, and has been studying functional medicine in the rainforest for the last few years. Welcome, Lara, and we're excited to talk about longevity technologies today and to bridge the gap of where science and some of the ancient traditions may be merged together, and bringing forward these technologies that new ones and maybe lost ones, because I've looked at some of your products and they bridge the gap between that. So I'd love to talk about that today. So tell us about your rainforest project. I know that this is really close to your heart. How did you get into this?
Yeah, I was in the end pursuing my medical studies for the last 13 years in different countries. I started a real estate interior design company when I was 19 to never sell myself in the medical field, because I started my PhD research 1 year prior, and I just realized how difficult it was to really just follow your curiosity and your structure and what you really wanted to do, and that there were a lot of interests involved that were just shaping where you were supposed to go, and it didn't feel very ethically aligned and something that I would recommend to my family or my friends or any person that would come to me for advice and things that I necessarily do. And I felt as a doctor, it can't be that I will give a professional opinion in a different way than a personal one. And that I need to actually feel and stand behind the things that I'm advising, especially if I'm operating from a deep level of trust from people. So I made sure that I will have very good finances organized to never sell myself in the medical field, and that it would take me a long time to study to find something I truly support. And that's why, and I had a few scholarships in Europe and England also, and worked in the health tech space for a while, also in parallel to my studies. I just tried to learn as much as possible about medicine, but I left a lot of projects that just felt not aligned and not teaching people sovereignty and actually health. And I just really wanted to work on that. And over friends, I met this very beautiful project in the rainforest of a German doctors team that came to Mexico 40 years ago after studying medicine in Germany and finishing these studies and then having the same questions that I had at the time. And then they lived with the Mayans, studied the ancestor healing techniques for 6 years, and incorporated that in what they knew from the state-of-the-art science, and created a private nature reserve of 600 hectares next to the Uxmal pyramids, blessed the land by 4 of the most powerful shamans from Latin America, reactivated the water energizing systems from the Maya, and just brought everything together and did their own research there for the last 35 years. Now they're 75 years old, and I was living there and studying from them to bring this knowledge now out to the world for the last 2 years. I'm very excited
Wow,
about it.
that's beautiful. How did you even meet these people? I guess divine alignment, but was there a meeting that happened?
I met them over friends that started Tulum like 15 to 20 years ago, and they all are highly educated from wealthy families and very interested in regeneration, biohacking, but also connected to the spirit and knowing
Mm.
that the soul exists, and very connected to feeling and to intuition, and very strong in their authenticity and connection to nature. And that's what birthed this beautiful place that Tulum was, and all the fertile energy that were emerging from there that are now in New York. And now Tulum got overrun and it turned into this trash place that is very fake in my opinion, which is sad.
Right.
Founders that started it, they are very authentic and truthful, and there were a lot of beautiful things happening. And then when this place turned a little bit, that whole project got moved to that area where they bought this land of 600 hectares and continued further. And so I had a very good entry point, that I knew that these people were very highly educated and trustworthy because of their wealth from their families and their educational level. They were not selling themselves to anyone and able to follow their curiosity in life, which I feel is the most important and trustworthy thing.
Yeah, you've said that a few times. I do love that. I feel aligned with that sentiment too, because I've just felt myself kind of go off track sometimes following what will I need to do to pay my bills to what actually is alignment. And I feel it so strongly, actually, even in starting a podcast and hosting it. I have people helping me who are like, we have to do this thing. That's the new trend. And it's so easy to be swayed in even just little things like that compared to, yeah, our whole lives can be taken down a track that it wasn't intended because of that. So that's beautiful. So when we talk about technologies and this merging the ancient plus the modern and cutting edge science with this deep knowledge that people have had for centuries that they've learned from the land, because I think from my perspective we're both doing the same thing. We are scientists are studying the land and the earth and the different components on this micro level, where in the jungle they've been doing it as well, but in a different way, observation. And then how are these two merging? How do you see these merging, practically with the work that you're doing in the jungles and bringing it out to the world as well?
Yeah, the way that I see it, I'm coming from a very highly academic medical background. My whole family is academics, doctors, lawyer family, very high positions in
Mhm.
Germany. So I grew up with a very scientific, logical mind, and everything needed to be proven. And also in the university, I learned that, you see the body as a machine, and you see everything that comes into the body as only chemical structures that is interacting with a machine. And that's how you see pharma, that's how you see the body, that's how you anything that is out of balance with the body. And it was never really sufficient. And that's why I was very interested in surgery, because it felt like it was very easy to see and it was understandable and the material was very clear. And so in that part, I felt the structure made sense. But in the other parts of medicine, it just was not coherent, and people could not answer my questions because, of course, we are more than a machine. We have a soul, and actually, the soul is creating the avatar. It's creating the body. Not the body has a soul. It's actually the soul is everything in our body, and we just forgot that. And the more we are connecting to that and remembering that, the more we start to come into balance with our whole self, and we start regenerating, we start to come in harmony, we activate our DNA in different ways, and we get very healthy, and then also we get activating to our true essence. And I believe that's why we truly are here, and all the disease states are that we should not even access. And there's always an environmental component to everything, of course, but in the end, our body and our spirit and our mind is the most powerful thing in our world. So as soon as we really are very connected to that, we also become quite invincible to the things around us.
Oh, I do love that. I love that. Yeah, because I've said that too. You can do all the external things. Well, it was kind of when the EMF, where it was coming in, they were like EMF blockers and wear this pendant. And I had I guess he was shaman slash, actually he was a doctor too, but he had merged the two worlds. And he was like, no, your field needs to be stronger than anything coming at you. There's no way you could ever block the external world. You need to be stronger so that your energy is is blocking it. And that just put me in a different mindset of, okay, it's actually strengthening our system and creating that energetic field around us to be able to block anything from coming. And it sounds like that's what you kind of just said. It's strengthening the system. And so is that what your elixirs do? Because Forest in a Bottle, which I love that name, by the way. Yeah, tell us about the products of those. Is that what it does?
Yeah, it's literally bringing the energy of the forest inside the bottle to everyone in the world. And we know that nature is multidimensional and it's activating,
Mm,
it's actually helping your body to get into this alignment and to this higher, stronger field and to the
mm,
stronger connection to your soul. Because as soon as your soul and your body is merging stronger and your light is flowing through your body in a stronger way, you get stronger, of course, and your whole field is expanding and you get easier in manifestation and all the things are flowing for you and your world and your reality would just turn into the most beautiful movie you've ever watched for yourself because it's you inverse your world, your reality. And nature is doing that. That's why Vipassana and all like retreats are held in nature. We know it's very powerful when we just are in silence for a week in nature and just in that environment to really raise that. And that's also what animals do when they're sick. They go to a cave in nature by themselves and they just stay there. And that is definitely regenerating and is reconnecting. And that's the beautiful power of nature that we have not really studied in academia. That's why it's very limited to just look at chemical structures. And that's why we're not successful in curing chronic diseases at all. We are
mm,
successful when it comes to the material, to cut things out, to see things and to work with that, but we are not really successful understanding how things from the outside that we put into the body are really interacting with the body. And
mm,
I see it a little bit like in the movie Avatar. It's like this beautiful world of nature that is so much more complex and intelligent that we can actually yet understand, and we just don't have the right apparatus and techniques that are commonly available in academic medicine to really understand that part. But nature is really interacting on so many more levels than just the chemical structures with our body and can raise it and just make it stronger that then we can just focus our mind on the things that we want to create in a stronger way. This gets us to a very high level of health, and then it also activates our other powers that we have and what we are really supposed to do here.
I love that. So, what do you think is a way for someone to start tuning into that natural aspect of reconnecting to the natural technologies, kind of like that's what I hear you
Yeah.
saying.
We definitely saw this for the last 30 years. With these elixirs, people that take them, they just start walking more barefoot on the earth without talking about it. They stop watching TV. They stop eating 3D printed foods. It just doesn't feel good anymore. It doesn't feel nourishing for their body. They stop smoking. They stop being in toxic relationships they had for years. They couldn't really get out of anything. They start getting in shape, just working out. It's when you are numb. It's like living in a space that is very ugly, and you just or you have a very bright light in your apartment, and you're just used to that, and you don't even think about it. But sometimes you get headaches, and it just feels cold, and you're just not happy, but you don't even know where to point it. And then you are in a very beautiful space with candlelight and dimmed light and beautiful things and beautiful art and beautiful geometry of the space, and you just feel so much better. And if you spend there maybe a month and then you go back to the apartment, you will maybe change the light bulbs because it will be too intense, and you will just
Mm,
naturally feel what your body truly needs, and you were just so numbed from it that you couldn't even feel it anymore. Or you are in a toxic relationship and like your husband is always saying really mean things to you and it's very disrespectful, but you accept it. You think that's the normal way. And then you experience something else, right? Sometimes we just need to experience something else and then we get out of the routine and then we actually feel what is wrong. And that's what these elixirs do in general. They just connect you to your true essence and to your sensitivity to be able to make yourself sovereign decisions that you should be able to make, but you are just in a numbed state. And the
mm,
more numb and disconnected you are from your soul, the more you will have problems showing up, like disease states in the body. Also, depression and burnout fall under these. Like there are no cures for depression and burnout symptoms in psychiatry and in academic medicine because they come from a misalignment from the soul. And people can't really point why they are unsatisfied. And there are so many things that we are conditioned to think will help us, like the bigger car or the bigger house or the prettier partner, whatever it is, right? That we think we need to actually fill that hole, or like a few million more in the bank account, whatever it is. But in the end, it's really about being in alignment with your true soul purpose and your true essence that will create this feeling of an intense gratitude and happiness. And that's, I think, also a misunderstanding in our world, that is disconnected from success and abundance and
Mm,
power, because it's actually very connected.
very, very connected.
And when you actually step into your true essence and your true purpose, then the world will align for you and things will happen for you on the level of success that you never thought possible to achieve. And as
Mm.
long as you're wearing masks, and you can have this unconsciously because you're in a numbed state, you can work a lot and it will just not happen in the same way.
Oh, I love what you just said about wearing masks, because there's so many levels of that. Because even what you were saying about the numbed state, really the numbed state is not being connected to your body. It's shutting off your body. It's putting a barrier between you and your sensations. And that's something that I believe is the gateway into freedom, is actually your body and the sensations. That's what Vipassana would say too, is connecting to the sensation of not the story or not what's going on or not even visualization, but just the sensation. And through the sensation, then we start to release everything because you start to reconnect to it. So you're saying the elixir starts to reconnect you to your body and to the sensation of your physical body.
Not only your body, but your soul, your true essence. And
So
so many
everything
people don't
starts.
even know what that is.
Yeah. How would you describe that for someone? What is your soul? What is your true essence? Like, what does it feel like to be connected to it? How about that?
Yeah, it's definitely the most beautiful thing, and I'm definitely still on that journey to achieve that. But like 3 years ago, I was engaged to this billionaire in New York, and I had superficially everything that you can in the conditioned world want and wish for. I was also like in this very like fashion world in New York, and like on the coolest parties where all the celebrities are, and it was like partner was super attractive, like everything, that from a movie, like you can possibly wish for. And I was actually feeling very disconnected and very unhappy,
Mm.
and nothing could really fill that. And it was a very strange feeling. So I really understood, wow, like all the different aims I had to fill holes in myself, and like aims that I set for myself to achieve at some point and that I was trying to achieve. When you achieve them, like that's not the essence. That's all nice. And I like to live in beautiful spaces and I like comfort and all these things. And I will always love that. But it's not enough if you're not connected to your true essence and you don't understand what you really need and you just follow conditioned things, what we are conditioned to want and to need. It's
Mm.
not going to fulfill that. To really go deeper in that and really connecting to that. And the elixirs helped me personally so much with that. I healed my whole body from little things that I had, like allergies, like bladder infections. I had a weak immune system. I was getting sick like once a month or like every 2 months. And it was just normal for me. I had migraines like every month or every 2 months once. And I was just living with that. Also had some inflammation in my body, in my intestine. Like after living in New York for 2 years, I definitely felt there was something happening in my body and I was struggling with some sort of inflammation. I also had some breakouts on my face and here, and it was not like super bad, but it was like these weird spots, like maybe 2 spots in my face and here, like always, and I couldn't get rid of it, and it was just not natural. It was not healthy. And also, yeah, I felt my hair was not entirely healthy, and I grew up in Germany in a very healthy environment, a very healthy family, and I knew, because I also studied anatomy for 7 years with like literally, dissecting bodies and like going very deep in the anatomy, and then did a surgical career. I know when something is wrong in my body, and I can really well visualize where it is.
Yes.
And I could heal all of these things with the elixirs. And then
Yeah.
I also really connected to feeling what my deepest soul excitement actually is, and
Mm.
where my soul journey comes from, and what my whole story is and what my whole purpose is.
Mm.
And I connected more and more to that and just trusted more to follow that and make every decision in my life connected to that. And just really learned to trust my intuition, because I early in life, I was just not really listening to my intuition, and I thought it was something that I needed to overcome in some way for success. In my mind, success was requiring something else, and I could always fulfill people's expectations quite easily and always do everything I could set my mind to, and I really loved that about myself, but it was not following my deepest soul excitement, and following that, trusting that really got me to experiencing the best movie I've ever watched and being the happiest that I could ever imagine of being. And it would not be the perfect place for everyone.
Right.
Uh, no, it's specifically for me. And now I'm very connected and close to my real soul purpose, which is actually really helping people remember and connecting to their natural essence and their soul essence through nature. And that's something that I have done for many, many lifetimes.
I
And
like
it's
that.
beautiful how it's now really coming into this reality, and how retrospectively I'm so grateful that I trusted that. And I want everyone
So
to experience that.
yeah, seriously. So let's shift the energy right now. I want to know what your highest excitement is right now in this moment
My highest excitement about what specifically?
about your life, Laura. I know that you have a lot of projects going.
Yeah.
What is yeah.
My biggest excitement is that we are really in this moment right now where our whole Earth cycle is shifting from a lower civilization cycle of the last 13,000 years to a higher civilization cycle, and that it's literally happening in our lifetime, and
Mm,
that we are really now entering a completely different horizon of experience. And Einstein said this in a very beautiful way. You can't solve a problem with the horizon and the knowledge that created the problem. You need to expand your horizon to be able to look at it in a different way and then solve the problem. And that's now happening rapidly. And Earth has this 24,000 year cycle where we are in a higher civilization or a lower civilization, and we are just limited in our knowledge and experience in the lower civilization cycle. And now we come back to the remembrance of the higher horizon and the higher civilization cycle. So we all will expand and remember, and really supporting that and really seeing that happening in this world. And that just all the problems that we are right now facing in our society will just naturally solve themselves, because in a higher dimensional cycle with a higher awareness and a higher expansion of knowledge, they just don't make sense anymore.
I love that.
And
Yeah.
supporting that just like every day, and really seeing how fast nature can actually heal when humans understand her and they're able to communicate with her. Like in the movie Avatar over Sahil, we just need to get to that level of sensitivity to feel her and to really make the decisions together with her, and then she can heal very fast. But as long as we don't understand what is going on, it's very hard to communicate and actually make the right decisions. And we don't need to do much. Like, these things are solved way easier than we thought this to be.
Definitely. As easy as sitting in silence in a cave for 10 days and reconnecting, feeling, because our bodies will tell us where we're out of alignment, like you were saying. And I don't think you need to have studied medicine for 13 years to know when your body is out of alignment. I think people know.
That's
They
right.
know. Like I had this a couple of years ago where I just knew something was wrong. I didn't know what it was. I couldn't tell you. I went to doctors, but I had like it was this part knowing but part feeling. Like and I think
Yes.
a lot of us are feeling that. And so I would even inviting people to trust that. Like you said, you just knew that there was something off,
That's
and
right.
giving more space to that intuition, your knowingness of even if I don't know what it is, that the inquiry of what is it can lead people to then follow the breadcrumbs. I mean, if someone is watching this right now, you've been following the breadcrumbs. What led you to this longevity? Yes, we want to live longer, but how about we live better? What if longevity is not just about living long, but living fulfilled, like you're saying, that deep soul fulfillment, as well as feeling good in our bodies, light in our bodies, you know?
For sure. Like, it's all connected, and every aging symptom is actually just an expression of a misalignment, because that's
Mm,
not even supposed to happen. And the more you're connecting to your soul and to your avatar, because we're creating everything in our world, the more you actually really regenerate that. And we can live
mm,
way longer as humans than we think we can. And it's one of the problems when you think you're just going to reach a certain age, when you think you're going to be sick, get sick at a certain age. That's also part of the programming. We have that also in our, 80% of the advertisements in US television is pharmaceuticals that you don't need.
Right.
You get told every day in a subconscious basis that you need these things and you don't need any of it. Like
Mm-hmm.
every disease state is a state out of balance. And so is the aging process in the end. And in all the ancient teachings, traditional Chinese medicine, Japanese medicine, Maya medicine, we know this.
Right. Yeah, we talked about this aging backwards idea of getting younger looking. I know for myself, I have gotten younger looking, and for you, for Robert, well, you're still young anyway, but but we talked about this in Peru, literally physically looking younger, but it's not about just looking, it's about how you feel. And I do know that inflammation is a huge part of that. I know from my own experience that as I reduce inflammation, I start feeling better. I feel lighter. I feel easier in my body. It's easier to want to exercise. It's easier to, like, I want to move. I want to do all the other things that support my health. And you mentioned that you said when you take the elixirs, it just starts happening naturally. Is that one of the reasons why? Because that inflammation is a.
That's definitely a part of it. You can't separate it. It has 1,000 to
Mhm.
1,500 active ingredients inside because every plant that we're using has over 100 active ingredients. We use
Mhm.
10 to 15 plants per elixir. Then we ferment that with the microorganisms from the most ancient ecosystems of the world that will bring everything in the most functioned, harmonious state, everything they come in contact with. So if you put them in soil that is completely depleted of nutrients, full of pesticides, used in bad agriculture or destroyed land, the soil will regenerate to the most fertile land you can imagine, and the forest will
Mm.
just heal itself again. You don't even need to plant trees around the world. You just need to put the right microorganisms in the soil and the earth, and the nature will spread. Same thing with polluted water. You can just put it into polluted water. And then we also use microminerals or meteorites that are washed out from most parts of our agriculture that are increasing the baseline potential of our cellular structures. And we can see our whole nerve system like an electricity system that is more like a radio station receiving the light from a higher source.
Mm.
And our baseline potential is the more these things can be drawn in. And they're, of course, connected to the strength of our mind, but also to the baseline potentials that you can create. And that's how these microminerals get activated in our body. And that's how these microminerals also create the space for the light to come in an easier way.
You talked about two things, the light coming in, but our baseline potential. What is this baseline potential? I mean, that is something that our system does. It increases your baseline of how good you feel. And so you're saying you're doing this on a physiological level. What is that baseline potential?
Yeah, I mean with that, the polarity in electricity, when you have a strong polarity, the electricity will move faster.
Okay.
So we have a baseline potential in our nerve cells of minus 90 millivolts that goes to an action potential of minus 120 millivolts
Okay.
to provide information and bring information through. And you can just understand it easily with the nerve cells because that also increases your ability to think fast and to just be more productive. But you
Mm-hmm.
can increase it to, for example, minus 150. And so
Wow.
the polarity between the two is just bigger, and that makes your thoughts go faster. And I
Interesting.
see the brain not really as a memory place because there are a lot of patients, a lot of stories, miracle stories in hospitals where the whole brain got destroyed or like a big part of the brain got destroyed and people are still acting normal. That's
Wow.
also a sign that shows that the brain, just the mass of the brain, is not like as we think that everything is stored there. It's more like a radio station and we get information accessed from a different source. And they also
Mm.
come the more we are really activating that and activating our soul remembrance and can receive and plug into that field of data that is just that our brain works more like a radio station, then we really get to our high level of productivity and success and get these genius ideas. And the more that you study geniuses in your life, like Newton, Kepler, Einstein, whoever it is, that
Mhm.
see that these people have been in that state,
Right. Right.
how they get their ideas. And Newton, 95% of Newton's work has actually been about these things, more than like just mathematical constants. And it got bought by Bill Gates and it's concealed. And
Hmm.
these like the more on a genius level you are in our world, the higher your IQ is. How do we measure IQ? IQ is just the level of activation of your radio station.
That's so true.
Radio station is activated, the more you're able to process bigger thought concepts that will actually make you very successful and have insights to solve worldwide problems.
So you saying that's something you can control and increase?
Yes, and nature will always activate that within you. Not everyone can afford to be in nature. A lot of people live in big cities. They don't see nature very often, so we bring nature to everyone in a little bottle.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. Thank you. So, what would be one thing that you would like to leave with people? If there's one
Yeah,
message.
like the most fascinating thing that I learned in my career, I studied now at least for 10 years longevity very specifically and cell regeneration, that the strongest part of cellular regeneration is really the connection to your soul and to your light. And the more you have that, the faster your cells will regenerate. And that's the most important thing that you can do, and really feel that intuition to your body, really feel that you're beautiful, be kind to yourself, be in alignment with yourself. And the more you're rising, the less anything in your environment can actually impact you. And then 20% is biohacking. The things like to avoid the toxins, to really go into the chemical structures and do all these things right. And these things are still important. And when you are not yet at this level of activation and this level of field expansion, and also things happen in life, like tragedies happen, you are under a lot of stress, you can't just change your environment overnight. So it definitely makes a lot of sense to focus on the things that you can control and where you can make the decisions. So all these things are valid. If you really want to expand in the most efficient way, this is the most efficient way.
Awesome.
Thank you. Have a beautiful day.
Thank you for joining us and listening. If you enjoyed this content, we invite you to like and subscribe. If you're interested in energy intelligence technologies to calm yourself, regulate yourself, and start to use these technologies for your own benefit, you can follow the links below and engage